I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country.
Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say, no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
First of all, Donald Trump sits down with the National Association of Black Journalists, and when he's posed with valid questions, he immediately descends into his victimhood shtick, complaining that he wasn't told, hello, how are you, thank you for coming, and so he doesn't answer any of these, again, valid questions pertaining to his own long history of racist, xenophobic, discriminatory comments. Instead, he uses it as a launching pad to immediately cast himself as the victim. A powerful white billionaire, the former president of the United States, casting himself as the victim in front of journalists giving a voice to one of the country's most marginalized communities. Could you have a more apt microcosm for the Trump movement and the Republican Party? But from there, Trump makes the statement that will be best remembered from this entire dumpster fire that was this Q&A, when he suggests that Kamala Harris one day turned black. So let me get this straight. Trump was speaking with, again, the National Association of Black Journalists, and during this conversation, again, with black journalists, he suggests that the black vice president of the United States and current Democratic nominee, quote, turned black one day. Let's do a little experiment here. Imagine if Joe Biden said that a black person suddenly turned black one day. What do you think Fox News would say about Biden's mental state if he made a comment like that? Honestly, think about it. Do you think Sean Hannity or Judge Jeanine or Jesse Waters would write it off as a joke like they'll do for Trump? Or do you think it'll run for 72 hours nonstop as evidence that Joe Biden's brain has turned to mush? I think we all know the answer to that question. Consider too, the concept that Donald Trump doesn't seem to be able to wrap his head around is that Kamala Harris is biracial. In the United States of America in 2024, not exactly a difficult concept to understand. Also, as human beings, adults with a shred of sense, also not a difficult concept to understand. And yet Trump is either too stupid to understand this basic idea, or he is just so intent on trying to figure out a way, any way, to wield race as a cudgel that he literally cannot bring himself to acknowledge that Harris is even black. You could be an 8-year-old in the United States of America and understand what it means to be biracial, and yet this 78-year-old man can't? He can't understand that concept, and yet he thinks he's capable of understanding the concepts related to national security? He even, of course, pivots to the usual Republican obsession with DEI.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a very direct question.
Define it for me if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
I don't know. Is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman.
I
She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't. because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe
think,
that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I
Republicans
really
have
don't
said?
know. I mean, I really don't know. Could be, could be.
And this is what Republicans do. They find some vague acronym and pretend that it means something very dangerous and scary as a way to whip their white base into a frenzy. First it was CRT, now it's DEI. And of course, we all know what they're trying to say. These acronyms are a euphemism for black. That's it. It's just very, very, very thinly veiled racism. We couldn't possibly have a DEI president, if you know what I mean. But of course, they'll never admit that's what they mean. Maybe they'll just claim that it stands for economic anxiety again, right? But this wasn't even just bad for Trump. He actually went on to throw his own vice presidential candidate under the bus too.
When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think JD is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me.
Normally, when someone taps a VP candidate, they do so because they have at least some confidence in their abilities. And yet, when asked about J.D. Vance, all Trump could manage to do is distance himself from his own VP pick, saying that the VP pick historically makes no difference anyway. And in fact, goes a step further to just infer that you're not even voting for J.D. Vance, you're actually just voting for Donald Trump. If that is not an admission unto itself that Vance is a dud and that Donald Trump knows it, I don't know what is. But what all of this shows is just how unhinged Donald Trump is. When he's not being fed softball questions from fawning supporters and is actually forced to answer for his own comments, his own policies, his own positions, all he can manage to do is lash out, get defensive, and most tellingly, lie. He isn't even able to back up a single position with any factual basis. All he can offer his supporters are blatantly obvious lies and obfuscations and whataboutisms. What we're seeing is the implosion of Donald Trump's candidacy in real time. And the more people who can see that he has exactly nothing to offer other than fear porn and manipulation, the better off we'll be. I've got a really exciting announcement. I've written a book. It's called Shameless. This book explores how Republicans have exploited their historical branding while attacking our democracy, how the media has proven itself a willful participant, and how Democrats can learn from this to rebalance the political scales and save our democracy. It has been a lifelong dream of mine to write my own book, and so I'd like to ask you to pre-order it by clicking the link right here on the screen. And if you buy within this pre-order period, your book is going to come with a signed nameplate. As you know, I've never had a single sponsor on my channel. I don't ask for money or anything like that, but if you're looking for a way to support me, this is hands down the best way to do it. So again, follow the link right here on the screen, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for pre-ordering Shameless. And as always, make sure to subscribe to see more of my content.